Hello everyone, in today's video I bring you a breathtaking and completely real account. Meet Seraphine Arkwright, an Ashcroft medium who literally crossed the threshold of death and returned with an urgent message about the fate of humanity. What she experienced during her near-death experience will shake her beliefs and reveal secrets that are happening right now. Information so powerful, it could change the course of our lives. So, before we dive into this intense and transformative journey, leave your like, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any content like this, and activate the bell to receive all notifications. Get ready. What you're about to hear could change everything you think about reality. My name is Seraphine Arkwright, and at that precise moment, I wasn't a nurse or anything I thought I was. I was just consciousness. I felt my body slip away from me as if made of mist, floating toward a space so vast that human words failed to describe it. There was no conventional color or sound. There was just a gentle pulse, as if the entire universe was breathing with me. There was no time there. Moments passed and blended together like raindrops merging into a lake. Instead of pain, I experienced immense peace, as if all my earthly anxieties were dissolved in a cosmic embrace. Memories emerged in no order. My grandmother's smiling face when I was a child, the gentle touch of hands I would never hold again, laughter and tears mixed into a timeless tapestry. Then I heard a voice, not through my ears but directly in my mind, that introduced itself as Ezra. There was no sound, only certainty. He didn't say words to me, conveyed full meanings in flashes of images and feelings. I felt the urgency to understand that my existence did not end there, but that I had a purpose beyond what I had ever imagined. There was no ambiguity in that communication, just an absolute truth that filled every fiber of my being. Before I could question or fear, I was enveloped by a formless wave of light that seemed to pulse life into every atom of my spiritual body. My body reappeared in a shock of sensations, an abrupt return that hurled me back into physical consciousness with the violence of thunder. The room around me exploded with white lights and high-pitched sounds, heart monitors beeping frantically, nurses' anxious voices, hurried footsteps on the sterile floor. Each breath was a rush of freezing air that burned my lungs, and my heart hammered against my chest as if it wanted to escape. My limbs felt heavy, as if every muscle was sinking into an invisible swamp. My eyes burned as I struggled to focus on the material world. Shadows writhed on the walls, distorted by the pain and fear of others. A nurse grabbed my arm, measuring my blood pressure, but her voice sounded distant, like a distant echo that could barely reach my mind. As I struggled to regain control, a gentle presence once again enveloped my thinking, not as intense as before, but firm enough to bring clarity. Ezra didn't speak. Her communication was a gentle touch that cut through my inner chaos, telling me that I had been returned for a reason. Without that silent comfort, I would have given in to the panic that threatened to consume every fiber of my being. Each second seemed to stretch into an eternity of confusion and pain, but it also awakened something new in me. The certainty that my return was not a mistake, but a summons. As the hospital's hands took care of my body, my mind began to understand that I had crossed an invisible threshold, and that even without fully understanding what had happened, nothing would ever be the same. As the frenzy around me began to subside, the sounds of the hospital becoming more bearable, the warmth of the hands that tended me, I realized something new. The voices within were no longer subtle suggestions, but clear, direct instructions. It was no ordinary dialogue. It was like receiving instant downloads of information, complete in meaning, without the need for translation into words. Ezra came first, giving me a sense of purpose so concrete that I could physically feel it like a gentle warmth in the center of my chest. Without me needing to ask questions, he showed me glimpses of energetic patterns around me, lines of light that connected every person in that room, every machine, every particle of air. I knew, unquestionably, that everything was interconnected. Then came another presence, less dominant but equally distinct, which I named Leora. His energy was more delicate, like a silver thread of intuition, bringing subtle details that complemented Ezra's instructions. Leora revealed fragments of information, coordinates of places I had never seen, complex symbols that looked like vibrational maps, and vague warnings of imminent danger. There was no choice to make. Each insight was implanted in my consciousness as a non-negotiable mission. My hands, even though they were shaking, began to scribble numbers and abstract images on a notepad that someone had placed within my reach. Although I was still caught between two worlds, the physical, marked by pain and confusion, and the spiritual, flooded with clarity, I felt simultaneously vulnerable and powerful. The communication had no extravagant emotional tones. It was pragmatic and urgent. I didn't talk to these guides. I was a channel, a receptacle that was supposed to absorb and transmit what was vital to them to share. At that moment, it became clear that I would not return to my previous state of tranquil ignorance. Something in me had been awakened forever. Within that liminal state, neither completely in the body, nor completely detached from it, I began to receive flashes of information that did not follow the chronological order that the human mind knows. They were like fragments of a film projected directly into my consciousness, revealing crucial moments that were approaching urgently. I saw 3 distinct images, each vibrating with different intensity without precise dates, just the feeling of now, next, and immediate. The first vision came as a wave of blue-green energy pulsing in front of me. There were no recognizable faces or places, just a growing force field that seemed to envelop the entire planet. I felt like this was the beginning of a profound shift, something we would all feel, albeit in different ways, as if the very fabric of reality was adjusting. Then, I was taken to another, more concrete scene, a ground that shook beneath my feet, cracks opening in the ground, and the dull sound of stones breaking. The feeling was one of urgency, not a random disaster, but a forced awakening of something long buried. My heart quickened as I realized it was approaching quickly, not as a distant future, but as an inevitable consequence of forces in motion right now. The third flash was the most enigmatic, an indistinct figure holding a luminous object, almost like a torch in front of a group of people who seemed confused but receptive. There were no words, just a strong sense of importance, a turning point where choices needed to be made collectively. All the images were accompanied by a visceral knowledge, without the need for reasoning. They were happening at this exact moment in the spiritual dimension, configuring what would still manifest on the physical plane. There were no numbers, dates, or logical explanations, just the certainty that time had compressed into critical moments that cried out for attention and immediate action. As each vision dissipated, I felt the weight of its message solidify in my chest. Something big was now being revealed, and my consciousness was already involved in this process of change. Still immersed in that timeless space, my visions became more vivid, each like a cinematic fragment projected directly into my consciousness, carrying the weight of events now unfolding on the spiritual plane. First, I saw gigantic flames consuming dense forests, the crackling fire, mixed with a suffocating heat that seemed to leap from the image and envelop my chest. Then the deep sound of churning water filled my ears, as huge waves rose like liquid walls, advancing on coastal cities without mercy. Soon after, I felt the ground shake beneath my spiritual feet, not a gentle tremor but a fissure opening in the earth with a deafening crash. There were no recognizable faces, just structures being ripped to pieces, while crowds ran in panic, mixing desperation and determination in their eyes invisible to me. Without a break, my field of vision shifted to scenes of government rooms, lit by cold artificial light, where indistinct figures argued in low voices. Tension, fear, and calculation permeated their every gesture. There was a sense of an imminent shift in power, as if once firm foundations were crumbling at that very moment. In parallel, images of 2 alien presences emerged, one enveloped in soft light, radiating peace and compassion, offering symbols of unknown technology as if they were gifts to humanity. The other shrouded in stark shadows, watching like keen hunters, assessing unseen resources with cold eyes. Each vision lasted only seconds, but carried with it the urgency of someone witnessing something irreversible happening now. not in the distant future, but in parallel to my own near death. The message was not clear in words, but visceral in meaning. Powerful forces were in motion, and my consciousness had been summoned to absorb and transmit what was unfolding right now. Still floating in that space that wasn't space, a new scene unfolded before me, this time centered on intelligences beyond Earth. There was no sound, but I felt two distinct energetic fields emerge around me, like two contrasting presences occupying the same invisible plane. The first presence radiated a soft, almost silvery light, which seemed to pulse in harmony with the rhythm of my spiritual heart. I didn't see bodies, but I sensed clear intentions, compassion, respect, and a silent offer of help. A geometric pattern appeared in my mind, circles interconnected by lines of light, conveying the sensation of an invitation to raise collective consciousness, sharing wisdom and technology that could alleviate human suffering. In contrast, a second energy manifested as a dense shadow that cut through space like a cold blade. She emanated calculating curiosity and a pragmatic interest in unseen resources. There was no empathy, just cool analysis. I felt an uncomfortable pressure, as if I was being evaluated as potential raw material. Without words, the two forces presented their purposes simultaneously and oppositely. One offered altruistic collaboration to accelerate planetary transformation. The other demonstrated the intention of extraction, as if the Earth were a deposit of treasures to be explored. Confusion welled up in me, but Ezra interjected with calm certainty. They exist now, here, and they observe human choices. We need not fear, but be aware. As the images of these intelligences dissolved, I felt the weight of their presence still pulsing through my consciousness. I knew that this contact was occurring at this very moment on the spiritual plane, influencing the invisible currents that shaped physical reality. The responsibility of conveying that vision, balancing hope and caution, became as tangible as the body I still inhabited in that hospital room. The air around me vibrated with a frequency that transcended any physical sensation I had ever known, as if the planet itself was emitting a powerful whisper, imperceptible to ordinary ears, but unmistakable to my expanded consciousness. That liminal space, Ezra revealed to me the essence of what was occurring. The Earth was going through an unprecedented vibrational elevation, a collective process of healing historical karmas that had been underway for centuries. They were not isolated images, but a continuous flow of ancestral memories and accumulated emotions, memories of slavery, colonization, social injustices, surging to the surface like subterranean currents finally breaking through barriers. I felt the weight of these pains in my own soul, as if I carried not just my experiences, but those of countless past lives. At the same time, glimmers of forgiveness and reconciliation appeared, shining like sparks of light in the deep shadows. There was no chronology or geographic boundaries at that time. There was only the unison pulse of a changing planet, calling for release and rebirth. I could feel distant communities performing spontaneous acts of healing, hands coming together, in invisible circles, silent chants echoing through energetic fields that connected each human being to a greater purpose. Ezra conveyed to me that this collective awakening was occurring now, at this very moment in my NDE, setting the stage for changes that would manifest in the physical world. But the message was not one of despair. It was a call to conscious action, an invitation for each soul to choose to contribute to healing rather than perpetuate old patterns of separation. As this revelation dissolved, I felt simultaneously overwhelmed by the magnitude of what I had witnessed and strengthened by the knowledge that, even in the face of so much pain, compassion was the most powerful force in the universe. I knew, there in that space between life and death, that my purpose was not just to survive. It was to help awaken hearts to the truth that now pulsed in every atom of the earth. If you liked this beautiful spiritual testimony, leave a like, comment on your impressions, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to activate the notification bell to watch each new video and help us spread this message to a greater number of people. Until next time.